Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're a returning watcher, or if not, hello to anyone that's new. This is how to make a Bambi cake. This is a really simple design and I just used a template from the internet which you can just Google, so it's nice and simple. To start with, I baked a chocolate fudge cake and I took each layer and levelled it so that they were nice and flat. The size will depend on the template size, so that's entirely up to you. In this particular one, I used some vanilla buttercream to go in the middle, and I just smoothed it out and made it as flat as I could, giving it a nice thick layer. Once that was complete, gave it a good squish down to make sure it was nice and stuck together, and then I took my Bambi template. Unfortunately I don't have a printer, so I literally used the screen from my laptop and traced it out on a piece of paper and placed it on my cake, and then cut around all the outer edges so it leaves a cake template of Bambi's head, and you'll see that in a minute. And the really satisfying part is pulling the bits away that you've just cut out so that you have an instant Bambi head. The bits that you have, don't chuck them out, use them for another project later. Then I transferred it to my serving platter and covered the entire head with some more buttercream. This is a crumb coat really, just to lock in all the crumbs so they don't transfer when you're going to decorate it. So getting all the little bits and pieces, it doesn't need to be a thick layer, but just enough to let the rest of the buttercream decoration stick to it. And once you've done that, just pop it back in the fridge while you cut out the rest of the template. So now take the template and cut around all the main features, such as the nose, ears, eyes, muzzle, anything really that's going to need to be decorated separately, so anything that's a different colour to the bit next to it. I hope that makes sense. But once that's done, lay them out in order, otherwise you will get in a muddle. And there they are, a dissected Bambi head. Okay, so I then laid back each individual piece and took a wooden skewer and traced around the outline of them so that they then have an impression on the actual cake of the picture of the Bambi head. You'll see what I mean in a minute when it's all finished, but basically you can't go wrong. As long as you've got the pieces in order, you're just laying it down and copying it again. You don't need to go too hard into the buttercream, but just enough so that you can see the impression. Once that was done, I started on the fondant work. There was only going to be a few little pieces of fondant, and basically that was going to be anything that wasn't going to be fluff or fur. In this case, this is the inner ear, and I also cut out a tiny mouth as well, and again that was using the templates that we used before, and then placed them on the part of the face that was relevant. So there's the ear and then the little mouth. And then I've done exactly the same for the white of the eye and the brown of the eye. And then I took some edible paint, and working from the outside in, I painted on some streaks, and each layer I built up, I made it a slightly darker towards the outside to give it a bit more depth. It just gives it a bit more realism as well. And once that part is complete, you can then lay on the pupil, which was also cut out in fondant. Okay, again, once you're happy with the placement, start on the nose. I made the nose more 3D, as that was sort of would be closer to your view, and that was really easy. Just mould it with your hands, use a bit of Trex to keep it from sticking, and again the template shape, and then place it on the correct position. And then finally the last bit of fondant work was, oh no, there is another bit of fondant work after this, sorry, but this part is the little light spot in the eye. The next part was using black buttercream to outline where all the lines are that we'd placed in earlier, and this really made me laugh because it looked like I was giving Bambi a goatee. But do all your work, and black buttercream is really hard to achieve with just dye, so what I did was made a really dark chocolate buttercream and then added black dye afterwards. And this is just using a tiny star tip, but you could just use a normal round small nozzle as well if you wanted, but I like the fluffy effect of this particular cake. So all around the edges, basically anywhere the animator had made a thicker line, I also made a thicker line in buttercream as well. And once that was complete, I moved on to the sort of light caramelly colour, and that was sort of for the bridge of his eyebrow and his muzzle. So it's a nice bit now, you just get to fill in all the details and it comes together really quickly, but you do get a hand ache, but it's well worth it. The mouth as well, I purposely didn't use the star tip for that, as it was such a small little piece of fondant. I used a smaller round tip and outlined the mouth, and then I went on to the sort of medium brown colour for his nose and filled in all the colour for that one. And then finally to the reddy browny colour, which is sort of the arch of his head and his outer ears as well. And again, that was cocoa, brown food dye and a little bit of red food dye in that one, but all from the same buttercream mix, just with various different dyes in them. And then the outside of the cake as well, and I happen to have the most of the reddy brown colour, so that's what I chose to use for the outside as well. But you know, you can do whatever you want with that particular one, but it made it nice and fluffy, so it was good. And then finally the white fondant shine on his nose, and I think that makes a real difference, just that one little touch. And then the last piece was to paint on some more black food gel to give it the wet look that you see on a deer's nose, and I also took the white dot off his eye and done the same with his eye as well, just the pupil part, so that it made that look a bit more shiny too. And then cleaned up the board, and there we go. That somehow seems wrong, cutting into Bambi's head, but it was delicious. Okay, I really hope you like it. It's such a simple cake technique and brilliant for anyone who wants to have a go at making and decorating a cake. You can do it in any character you want, but I particularly liked this one, so I hope you did too, and give it a go. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!